Hey everybody, Tyler Hart here with another MikroTik video. This time we're going to do something a little different. Normally, I'm pretty good about scripting and testing the videos and the tutorials and stuff that I put together, but this one I want to do kind of off the cuff. I want to do RIP routing with MikroTik. Now, I haven't done anything with RIP in forever. I think the last time I was really playing around with RIP was back when I was first studying for my CCNA the first time around. It's been ages now since I've done anything with Cisco in the enterprise, but RIP routing is available on MikroTik just like any other platform, so I figure, well, why not? Let's just go ahead, bang out a video about RIP. We've already done static routing, we've already done OSPF, why not RIP? So RIP, for those of you who may not know, RIP is Routing Information Protocol. It's a very old dynamic routing protocol. It's a distance vector type protocol. You'll need to know that if you're studying for your CCNA, your CompTIA Network Plus, something like that. So it's a very chatty protocol. It's constantly broadcasting, constantly exchanging routes every 30 seconds. But for small environments, it's a perfectly functional protocol. For this video, we're going to use the same topology that we've used for our static routing video. It's just two virtual MikroTik routers connected by a point-to-point link. It's a /30 link. There's a couple LANs, local area networks, behind each router, and we want the clients in one LAN to be able to contact the clients in another LAN. To make that happen, the routers have to exchange route reachability information from one device to another. So instead of typing in the routes manually like we did in the static routing video, we'll instead let RIP do that. Now, like I said, I haven't done anything with RIP for a long time now, but I don't recall it being particularly difficult to set up. So we're just going to kind of try and do this off the cuff. I've got the topology here in the corner up above me. You can see it. We're going to try and get RIP to exchange routes about the /30 from one device to another, and about the /24 routes from one device to another. So I'm on the top router right now. May as well start on the top router. It's as good a place as any. We are going to click routing and then RIP. Know that you can't see what I'm clicking in the drop-down menu, because Winbox renders this as a separate window, and I'm not showing you the entire monitor because you don't need to see all the other junk that I have up. But we're clicking on routing and then RIP. That takes us here to the RIP window. If I recall correctly from my CCNA days, and I may not be, like I said, we're just doing this kind of off the cuff, I think in RIP you just need to add the interface that you want to participate in the protocol, and it'll just start talking. So for us, we want to exchange information about the /30 between the devices and about the /24 for the LANs. So we're going to add Ether 1 and Ether 2. So click the add button, interface Ether 1. Now RIP v1, the original version of RIP, is only class full. It could only distribute routes in static blocks, the old /8, /16, /24s. That's not how the world works anymore. We only do classless or variable length subnet mask, VLSM. So RIP v1 is just a non-starter for us. By default, it only sends v2 advertisements and then accepts v1 and v2. But I only want to receive v2. We're not doing any RIP v1 at all. So that's Ether 1, which is now participating in RIP. I'm going to add Ether 2 here as well. I'm going to switch this to only receive v2 and to send v2. Okay. Let's switch on over to the bottom router here. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to choose routing, then RIP. We're going to add the interfaces. Ether 1, we only want to receive v2 and send v2. And Ether 2, we only want to send, receive v2. There we go. I'm going to leave the RIP window open because I have a feeling I've probably forgotten something. So we may have to come back. Let's go look at our routing table now and see if there's any RIP routes in there. To get to the route table, we just go to IP and then routes. Yeah, that'd be a solid no. I have no RIP routes whatsoever. Cool. All right, let's see what we dorked up here. I don't even have, there's not even any routes in the RIP window. All right, so just adding the interface is not enough. Like I said, I have not done RIP in like a hot minute at this point. So since we're on the bottom, let's just stay on the bottom here. Let's go ahead and add our networks in here that we want to propagate. We might need to add them manually. I'm going to go ahead and add the /30 network route first. That's the point-to-point between the two devices. So that's 10.255.0.0/30. Hit OK. Still not seeing anything in the routes tab. You know, I'm going to switch over to the top and do it again. Let's make that same change on the top. Let's go to networks. Yeah, you are seeing the right thing. Okay. Let's go ahead and add 10.255.0.0/30. Go ahead and hit OK. Oh, now we have a RIP route. Oh, all right. So it's apparently it is not enough to just add the interfaces. We've got to add the networks as well. All right. So I am on the top router here. By the way, if we were doing RIP v1 and I put a /30 in, RIP v1 would just be like, meh, because RIP v1 is only class full. This is why we got to do RIP v2 so we can do things like /20, /25, /30. So we're on the top router. Let's go ahead and add the other routes for our LANs. Let's add the 10.110/24. And let's go ahead and add the 10.1.2.0/24. Hit OK. Okay. 10.1.1, 10.1.2. Okay. Let's go ahead and go back to the bottom. We'll add the exact same thing on the bottom. Yo, bottom, why am I not seeing routes here? What's going on? Let's go ahead and add 10.9.1.0/24. We'll hit OK. 10.9.2.0/24. We'll hit OK there as well. What is going on? My interface is up? Why am I not seeing any traffic on Ether 1? Let me look at my IP addresses here. Well, there's your problem. I am missing my IP addresses. Why did those get removed on the bottom router? That is so... I don't remember doing that. So we're going to add the /30 back to Ether 1 on the bottom router. Oh, we're missing... Man, look at that. We're missing our LAN addresses as well. What the heck? I'm going to add my LAN addresses on Ether 2. What is going on? No wonder we weren't seeing any routes in RIP. There we go. Much better. All right. Hey, look at this. All right, so now I've got my point-to-point, my 9.1, my 9.2, and I am also receiving a RIP route from the top router, 10.1.1. Now I should also be seeing a 10.1.2. Don't know why. Let's go ahead and switch back to the top router and take a look at why am I not seeing that? So we're back on the top router. I'm in the routes tab. Look, I don't see that here either, 10.1.2. I wonder if I'm missing an IP address on this router as well. No? No, it's there. 10.1.2.1 on Ether 2. Yeah, that's good. Let's look back at our networks here. 10.1.1, 10.1.2. Huh. Why is that not showing up? Why do I also not have a RIP neighbor showing up here? That is just wild. Let me look back on the bottom router here. What am I missing? It's always something stupid. Look at my IP and then routes. Yeah, there's 10.1.1. Let's look at the route on... Let's look at the routing table on the top router. IP routes. Yeah, I've got my static routes from the video when we put our static routes in. Got my RIP routes as well, which of course the RIP routes are blue because they're inactive. The static router will always be a lower cost than a RIP route. Or the static route, not router. Silly. Static route will always be lower cost than a RIP route, just because that's how routers work. Alright. Let's see here. This is like real-time troubleshooting video going on here. Let's switch back to the bottom router. I think there's something going on the bottom router here. Let's double check. IP addresses 10.9.1, 10.9.2.1 on Ether 2. I'm going to disable this and re-enable it. Okay. I've got my directly connected routes for 10.9.1 and 10.9.2. Yeah. In RIP, we added Ether 1 and Ether 2. For our networks, we added 10.9.1.0 and 10.9.2.0. Yeah. 10.9.1.0, 10.9.2.0. Why am I not seeing this? That is so bizarre. Let's go back to the top router. Top router, where you at? There you are. Let's double check the same thing here. IP addresses 10.1.1, 10.1.2.1. Enable that, re-enable that. 10.1.1, 10.1.2. I'm going to open up my IP addresses here, just make sure that everything matches. Yep. 10.1.1, 10.1.1, 10.1.2, 10.1.2. Yeah. Okay. Let's disable this and re-enable that. Okay, yeah, now we're showing up. Alright, 10.1.1, 10.1.2. Let's go back to the bottom router. Am I on the bottom? Yes, I am. Ah, there we go. So we have our /30. Excellent. We've got our lower LANs. We've got our upper LANs. We'll go to IP and then routes. Hey, look at that. All right, so we got RIP routes. We got RIP routes on the bottom router that point to the top LANs. And we've got, well, we've got, of course, a directly connected route for 10.255.0.0. We have full reachability now over RIP. Let's go back to the top router here. Double check that our IP routes have everything we need. Boom. I've actually got 4 routes for the LAN on the bottom. We've got RIP routes that are, of course, inactive. We've got our static routes from the previous video. We are good to go. So let's summarize what we did to get RIP up and going on MikroTik. All right, so I've put us back on the top router. I've closed out all of the windows that I had open before. I'm going to go ahead and go to routing and then RIP. We first added the interfaces that we want to run RIP on. In our case, Ether 1, because that's the point-to-point, and Ether 2, because that's our LAN. And then we went into our networks. We added the /30 for the point-to-point on Ether 1, and then we added the /24s on Ether 2 for our LANs. So on the top router, we added our top LANs and our /30. On the bottom router, switch on over, we added our same /30, but then we added, of course, the bottom LANs, and we added both interfaces. And we have full reachability now with RIP. So RIP, it's old. RIP v1 is only class full, so it will not work with our CIDR masks like /30. But RIP v2, it's included in all versions of Router OS, and on small networks, it actually will still work perfectly fine. That's it. So I hope you kind of enjoyed this off-the-cuff video for configuring RIP dynamic routing. We did a little bit of troubleshooting. We ran through a summary of the configuration. I showed you how RIP routes will be disabled if there's a lower cost route, which is the same for RIP, OSPF, BGP. That's just how the routing engine works. This was kind of fun. It's kind of fun to do a throwback protocol or a throwback technology like RIP on a modern platform like a MikroTik CHR running in Hyper-V. So I hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe. If you are one of the people out there doing RIP and this helped you out, then great. Go ahead and throw us a like. If you want to see me do some other throwback stuff, go ahead and throw me a comment. Let me know, and we'll see you in the next video.